this is what, my 34th
Wow.
curriculum camp.
Yeah.
And David was there at the first one too in '92, right? So we are the elders. You were here at LSU during that time, but probably not at curriculum camp.
No,
No, not at curriculum camp.
We didn't rope them in yet.
they wrote me in late.
A good rope, a good rope.
So, for how many of you is this your first curriculum camp? All right,
Awesome.
welcome. Well, you are in for a treat. I was just talking with Reagan, and he was saying how transformative his first curriculum camp was, and I think that's one way to describe this. In addition to being an intellectual space and a space of hospitality, it's also a transformative space, because I think we have a chance to engage in dialogues here where we think differently. We're going to leave here seeing the world in a different way because of the exchanges that we have and the stories that we exchange with one another. So I want to, Leo asked me to give just a little sort of history of curriculum camp. So that's what I'm going to do today. Stop me at any time if you have questions. This is meant to be a conversation, and so if you have questions, just let me know.
Yeah.
I guess this is going to be a little bit of a history lesson too about the Curriculum Theory Project, which was founded in 1995, 3 years after the start of Curriculum Camp. So Curriculum Camp was really one of the first initiatives here in the history of curriculum theory prior to the founding of the Curriculum Theory Project. And as many of you probably know, but maybe some don't, so William Payne came to LSU in 1988. He was hired here by Billy Smith, who was the dean, to bring LSU up to par with other colleges and schools of education. And Bill was brought, he came from New York. He had been involved since the 70s in really the reconceptualization of curriculum, and is considered one of the main intellectuals who challenged normative, technocratic views of curriculum and revolutionized the way we think about curriculum. Instead of being a product, something that we dispel to students, for Bill and Bill, curriculum is a process of lived experience. It's about our lived experiences and reflection on those as a commitment to social activism and being public intellectuals. So it was Bill Payne then who brought Bill Dahl. They had known each other since their time in Oswego in New York. Bill was at the Redlands then, out in California, and Bill Payne persuaded that Northern Yankee, Bill Dahl, was very proud of his Yankee heritage and Puritan roots, to come south, and it forever transformed him. I mean, when I think of Bill Dahl, I can't help but think of him as, as just embracing lagniappe and the Southern way of life and carnival and the paradoxes of carnival. He had such a Bakhtinian spirit about him. He really came alive, I think, in the South. Would you agree, David? Yeah.
I would.
Yeah. He just thrived here, and especially in New Orleans. So it was really Bill Dahl's notion or vision of curriculum camp that got curriculum camp started in 1992. Bill Dahl, of all scholars that I know, was one of the most committed to his graduate students. He saw his work as developing and mentoring and encouraging graduate students to believe in themselves, to see themselves as brilliant scholars,
Yes.
and to what's the right word? It'll come to me in a minute. But he saw curriculum camp as a place in which graduate students could come together in order to present their burgeoning research. And at the time, he was very good friends with Wilma Longstreet, who was a professor at UNO. So originally, the first curriculum camps were done in collaboration with UNO as well as Xavier University, so that there would be more of a regional exchange between universities, and so that graduate students from here could meet other graduate students who were working on different projects in New Orleans. But I think, again, as Lee already mentioned, Bill's vision for curriculum camp was based in these three principles. Community. For Bill, all curriculum was about relationships. It's not about knowledge. It's not about test scores. It's not even about, books. It's about relationships. Building relationships with people. Genuine, deep relationships where, again, people agree to disagree as well. So complicated conversation, which is a term I'm not sure whether it was Bill Payne or Bill Dahl, but anyways, it comes out of that, either one of them talk about this notion of complicated conversation. That, of course, we are not going to all have the same worldviews or viewpoints or agree on politics or ideas, but the purpose of engaging is to understand the other. Not to impose our ideas, but to sincerely and genuinely try and understand the other through listening. And Bill Dahl was a master at asking questions that would solicit people to share their stories. He is known for his 4 R's, but also his 3 S's: story, science, and spirituality. But for Bill Dahl, stories were the heart of the curriculum. And sharing stories is what brings people together in community and seeing their shared humanity, which again, to me, is the heart of education, is providing a space in which people learn and acknowledge and honor each other's humanity. And for Bill, that really came through stories. However, he never hesitated to also push you with a question that would challenge you to see things in a different way, or say, why do you see it this way? What other ways can you see it? Give me some other possibilities. Possibility was another big Bill Dahl word. And perturbation. The other aspect that Bill Dahl brought to curriculum camp was the notion of chaos. That the only way in which we become generative in our ideas is to create disequilibrium. Chaos is good, and from chaos comes order. All right, and so he was very, very, part of being chaotic for Bill was being playful. Play was another big, big term that Bill used. We have to play. He would come into his doctoral seminars and engage in play. He would throw out a puzzle. He would throw out a problem and say, all right, let's play with this. How can we approach this? To get people thinking outside of the box, thinking outside of their comfort zones, to see the world in a different way, to make the familiar strange, to use Maxine Green's term, to make the familiar strange, to question our taken for granted assumptions. And so chaos and disequilibrium was a very magical aspect of the way that Bill approached curriculum, and he brought that into curriculum camp. But his goal was to bring graduate students together to exchange their ideas, their research, to present their research as papers, and here are just a few pictures of community shots from the past wonderful years of curriculum camp, and this picture over here is from Bergamo with Janet Miller. and I'm not going to make this a Bill Dahl lecture, but I think, again, to appreciate the spirit that Bill brought to curriculum camp, it's just important to mention his work in postmodernism. He was a pioneer, really, in bringing postmodern thought, the works of Lyotard, Prigent, to curriculum. And it was with his work and thinking about a postmodern perspective on curriculum that he challenged the notion of education as the 3 R's. We're always familiar with the 3 R's, right? Reading, writing, arithmetic. And he said, no, that is not what education is about. It's about the 4 R's. Relationships, which we've talked about, rigor, right? That we need to dig deep into something, not be superficial. There were some courses that Bill taught where you read one book and you read it 5 times. Because every time you read something, you see it new.
Yeah.
You will appreciate something different. No, knowledge is not static. It's always on the move. It's always generative. It's always context dependent. And that's what Bill wanted us to see, is that knowledge is not static. It's always being constructed. And this notion of rigor, of looking at something deep and multiple times, allows us to see things differently. Richness, again, the curriculum needs to be rich. We need to have interdisciplinarity. We need to have a multitude of experiences and recursion. And this goes back to reading something 5 times. We need to visit things over and over and over again. So these were the kinds of ideas that Bill brought to curriculum camp and what he saw as the heart of curriculum. So the central focus, or the heart of curriculum camp, in addition to students presenting their research, getting feedback from each other, and faculty sort of played a peripheral role here. I mean, we would attend sessions, but this was really meant for the graduate students to dialogue with each other in order to, in some ways, empower them to see themselves as researchers, as people who were generating ideas and new ways of seeing the world. But hello, Xiaofei, welcome.
Ah, Xiaofei. What's up, man?
Tell me when I'm out of time here. I'm a talker. The other aspect of the curriculum camp was to bring in a national scholar, an internationally or nationally recognized scholar, to give what Bill called a campfire talk. Originally, curriculum camp was always off campus. The first time that it met in Covington at the Abbey there. And it was a monastery, so they had rooms there where we stayed, sort of like monastics. But it was meant to be a 2-night, really, retreat, where we would just be together, eat our meals together, be living together for a couple of days, and really be able, as a way to develop community. But on Saturday night, there was always a campfire speaker, and this was a national or international, very, very well-known curriculum theorist. And here again, Bill was ingenious. His idea was, I'm going to bring these intellectuals who are sort of seen as, in the, clouds, really almost inaccessible, and I'm going to bring them here so that people can see these are just regular human beings. We're all intellectuals together. There is no hierarchy. These are real people, and we're going to have exchanges. And it was very, very empowering for me, especially. I came to LSU in 1991, still very, very green behind the ears, just, I read Bill and was just in awe. And, so Ivor Goodson at that time in 1992 was one of the, at the forefront of bringing post-structuralism to curriculum theory. I had read him for my dissertation, but I was still like, oh, I'm an imposter. I'm not really a post-structuralist. I still don't know Foucault well enough. I really don't know what I'm talking about. And so to sit and talk with Ivor Goodson, who was at that time, the leading intellectual in post-structuralism and curriculum theory, was just awesome. And to have him ask me questions and engage in dialogue. So even for young faculty, I think curriculum camp has been, transformative. So Saturday nights, we didn't literally gather around the campfire, but we gathered around whoever the speaker was. And afterwards, we did have a campfire, because the first years it was in Covington. And yes, and libations, yes. Well, I was going to get to that, just a second, all right? So yes, another part of curriculum camp was always cocktail hour.
Yeah.
Now, and Bill Dahl would bring the whole bar, because he loved gimlets. He loved gimlets. He traveled, in his trunk was one of those, what do they call them? A portable bar in a suitcase with his lime juice, his limes, and his vodka. And he would set up the bar, there would be wine, gimlets, and we would have a big happy hour, then dinner, and then the campfire speaker. And then after that, it was to the campfire for more libations and more cocktails. For Bill, like I said, he adopted Louisiana ways. He just fit right in, because food brings people together, and Bill was a proponent of that.
Petra.
Yeah,
I
please.
remember coming to Bergamo, and it was with Jane Fleener. We had a dean who was also part of the Curriculum Theory Project. Jane Fleener and I had gotten in early, and Bill Dahl was on the way. And so me and Jane Fleener are riding through the hood in a minivan, going to a liquor store, because we're like, we got to get cocktail out right before Bill gets here.
Yes.
That's the thing.
Yeah, and I remember visiting Bill for the last time in Victoria. And Donna, his wife, and my husband John and I, we went out to dinner, and he wasn't supposed to be drinking anymore because he had heart problems. And so he said, well, I can only have one drink. The drink was in a glass. Leave it to Bill to find a way to get his 3 drinks in one. He had a sense of humor till the end. So, anyways, you can see the list of campfire speakers. So that was clearly the one of the main focuses, and Bill's, vision to bring intellectuals to LSU. And of course, it also had a very pragmatic. Those scholars then would see the brilliant students who we had here, and LSU's reputation and the mystique of LSU. I spoke recently to someone who said, well, of course I want to come to LSU. With the history that it has in curriculum theory, who wouldn't want to come and work at LSU? Because there's a job opening right now, right, at research, which I've gotten many emails about.
Right.
So, oh yeah, LSU still has that mystique. So, so very briefly, because Reagan and I were talking about this too, so I'm glad I put this slide in here. Reagan was saying that this was the first conference that he attended. And it was the first conference that he presented research at. And I think for many doctoral students who have been here in Chalfay, Paul, this is the first conference that they presented their research at. And that, again, was a purpose, one of the reasons is to get students to see themselves as public intellectuals, to see themselves as researchers whose ethical responsibility it is to share their work. The heart of democracy is the exchange of ideas. That is what we are doing here. exchanging ideas, broadening the ways in which we see the world, understanding better how others see and experience and live in the world. Again, with the purpose of having a common humanity. One that does not agree, where there are many differences, but we share a commitment to each other's humanity. And so that's what an exchange of ideas is about. And so I always told students, it's your responsibility to present. And that was my way of course, forcing them to do it, even because people are nervous. You're scared, right? You're nervous to present your work. I really don't have anything to say. This isn't good enough. I mean, those old records that go through our, mind all the time. Well, I always say, stop, put a pause on those. We all have brilliant ideas to share. So, the curriculum camp process, which Bill envisioned too, was that you're reading and writing in your classes, right here, in your doctoral seminars, and you're getting ideas and you're formulating them. Well, curriculum camp is a chance to present those, to try and pull them together. You get conversation and feedback. This is part of the intellectual process, sharing your ideas, getting feedback. How do others respond? What suggestions do they have? What, comments do they have? Then you go back to reading and writing. And then you develop your ideas and you go and you present at another conference. Preferably be Bergamo, but it could be any, there's all sorts of conferences, but Bergamo is the premier curriculum theory conference, and that is also a very welcoming. It's sort of like a larger curriculum camp in that it's a very supportive environment. People are there to help you develop your ideas. It's in Dayton, Ohio, every year in October. It's again the place where you meet. That was the first place I saw Bill Dahl. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw this 6'2" man with white hair, and I said, oh my God, it's Bill Dahl. I was a graduate student, and I had just finished reading his article. The book wasn't out yet. That didn't come out till '93, but I had read his article in Curriculum Inquiry on postmodernism and was just like, oh, this is what I've been trying to say. These are the ideas I've been thinking about. So present at Bergamo, have conversation and feedback there. Go back to reading and writing, developing your ideas, and then the creme de la creme, presenting at AERA, the American Educational Research Association. And then having a polished, almost polished, they're never polished, but they're good enough. I always tell students, it's good enough, it's good enough. You're never going to finish your dissertation unless you realize it's good enough, all right? Nothing is perfect. We're never finished. So you submit your paper for publication at a journal. So the reason I bring this up is because I think this was part of Bill's vision, was that curriculum camp would be sort of the incubator or the start where students would move along their work and their ideas and their research for publication, which if we're going to get a job in academia and be scholars, that's what we do. And you have to have those publications on that vita in order to get a job. But I also think, again, this is the recursion. This is the richness. And ideas don't just pop out of people's minds perfected. It takes me years to write a paper. I'm the slowest writer in the world. I've been obsessing, Paul can tell you, about my LHA paper that I'm giving next week for a year, over a year, and working and reworking and working and reworking. And that is the process of writing. And I think Bill wanted to make that, both Bills, clear to students. It's not easy. Writing is not easy. It's editing, it's thinking, it's sharing. And we do struggle to write. So I don't know if this is resonating with you all a little bit, yeah? But there is a process here that I think Bill and as Curriculum Camp developed, that we have nurtured as faculty to encourage students, to keep working on their projects, keep writing, keep submitting, keep presenting, and get something polished so you can submit it for publication or for the dissertation. I see every conference presentation that a student does usually as a chapter in their dissertation. Don't write unless it has some purpose. I mean, some, you know, end goal. At least while you're a doctoral student. If you want to finish the dissertation, right? You know, if you want to finish the dissertation. So, does anybody want to add anything? I'm almost out of time. Because I know Paul and Shalfei, Reagan have all been through this process. No?
You've covered very well.
I'll add one thing.
Yeah.
Bill Payne also was a social nexus. It was not
he
just
was.
community that was created through Bill Dahl's enormous and amazing
Yeah.
influence.
Yeah.
Bill Payne had a different sort of way of doing sociality. Rather than creating a space that was kind of mutual to students to create a space, Payne operated largely through parties in which students were invited to kind of become part of the faculty in a social sense,
Yes.
right? Rather than sort of an equal balance, this was faculty parties that absorbed graduate students into the mix, and it was a big part of the beginning of this.
I don't know of any other university or academic climate where that is the norm.
Yeah.
And of course, Bill loved to party too. Bill Payne. I mean, he was a big, he loved, you know, and that's what made it such a joy to be at LSU for all these years. We were doing all this hard work. We worked hard and we partied hard. You know, and that didn't always mean drinking, but it just meant socializing and getting together and, you know, again, being in community. But again, sort of leveling as you know, that students and faculty are not here and here, but, you know, both of them, they were very committed to that.
The other thing that I would add also is there were the speakers, but there were also so many people. It wasn't uncommon for Lisa Delpit to be here. Our faculty, Nina Asher, David, Petra, I mean, Jackie Bach, there was so many faculty that were here that weren't necessarily featured speakers, but I mean, you might have, your boy, who's the other show on? Nicholas. Nicholas Nickelfoot would be here just hours in time and wanted to come. Molly would come. So I mean, the fact that you have these incredible
and now
speakers.
Paul, who's been a professor for 10 years,
11.
And
11.
consistently.
yeah, and is now an associate professor at the University of Alabama, is coming back to curriculum camp because there is a corps d'esprit here. There is a, and Shalfei as well, who is a professor in Lafayette, and Reagan is back. So, I mean, it's that recursion. And we're part of a larger community. What?
I said, look at us.
Yes, look at you.
We were a time.
We had a reunion, and Wendy Coley, who was a faculty member here in the mid-1990s, Claudia Eppert. There, of course, is Molly. There's Mary Dahl, Bill's first wife, her partner Marla, who is also a student here. Bill, and we all recognize this person here, and Shalfei, and my handsome husband, John, who was an honorary member of CTP for all the years.
I wonder what happened because I haven't heard.
She's still in Florida.
And again, one of the, this doesn't have to do directly with curriculum camp, but I think that curriculum camp was something that gave students, you know, again, a sense of community, but also a sense of place and groundedness, and that really shaped the curriculum theory project here. I mean, curriculum camp was always a highlight of the year, although we skipped it for a few years when people were doing a lot of international travel. But in 2014, when Laura Lindsay was in 2014, Laura Lindsay was the dean. She recognized the importance of the curriculum theory project at LSU, and that it was nationally and internationally known and recognized, and decided to honor Bill and Bill, who were the co-founders, by naming a room after them. And of course, that has to go through state approval, the Board of Regents. It's not easy to get a room named after people here at LSU and in this state with all of its bureaucracy. But she was able to get that approved by the Board of Regents, and we now, of course, have the William Payne and William Dahl Curriculum Theory Conference Room, which I'm sure many of you have had classes in. You will defend your dissertations, but it's a way to honor them. Of course, Bill Dahl passed in 2017 at the age of 87. Was it 87? Yeah. And Bill Payne is now at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, and is still teaching there, and still hoping to get him back south again. But just the other, I think, components of the curriculum theory project that have made it strong is our sense of wanting to document the history here, because it is so unique. I mean, it is really a one-of-a-kind project in academia, in education. And so all of Bill Payne's papers and Bill Dahl's papers are at Hill Memorial Library in the archives, as are the CTP papers, the things that I collected, that Bill and Bill collected. There's, of course, the conference room. There's also the William Dahl Curriculum Theory Graduate Student Fellowship. Who has that this year? Leo, all right. So this was, again, Bill's way of honoring doctoral students and graduate students and showing how important he felt their role was, and he put aside the original money for the scholarship and fellowship, and it's been contributed to it. And then lastly, one of the other initiatives from CTP has been the Certificate in Urban and Community Education. A few more pictures. There's Bill and Kenny Varner. He was also a faculty member here for several years, and Bill and Reagan and Bill. Janet Miller, who's been a wonderful friend to CPT, and Patty Lather at Bergamo, the first doctoral student who graduated from the LSU Curriculum Theory Project, Patrick Slattery, who also has been a major pioneer in postmodernism, Denise Ishikuni, who was part of the Curriculum Theory Project for 20 years. She was a student here, graduated, and then became a professor here, and was actually Reagan's first dissertation advisor until she left to go to Kazakhstan, and then that was fortunate for me because then I got to work with him and finish up that dissertation.
I'm so sorry for you, but
I
apologize.
It was meant to be. So anyways, just some more pictures, and I was going to end on one that was a real blast, and then I have to say, we'll come back.
Regan!
This is when we were all still very, very young. I think this is 2014.
Oh, man. Oh, my God.
So,
That is the best picture.
anyways, that was,
Where was this?
that was at the, when I got the award for, I can't remember. I got some award. The research award, the outstanding research award at the College of Education. So that was the dinner and awards
I cannot.
ceremony picture. And Bill Dahl and Bill Payne came back for that, because they were honored that evening as well. That's when we did the dedication for the room and did the first transfer of the archives. So I hope you get a sense of the rich tradition that you are a part of. And it's an honor to be here again today to share with you sort of my take on curriculum camp. And you know, I've been at this is my 36th year. David's been here longer, and so has Eugene, but it's a place that's in my heart and soul. So I'm gonna stop there. If there's any other questions, all right.
Good job.
Oh, and I would be remiss not to mention, although I'm sure you've all read it already, this is Curriculum Histories in Place, in Person, in Practice. The Louisiana State University Curriculum Theory Project. This is a book about the history of CTP, and it was edited by myself, Molly, Roland, and Jackie. We worked on it during COVID. And there are, I mean, almost everybody here, a former student, has a chapter in this book. It has probably 25, at least 25 former CTP graduate students, chapters from them, talking about their time here, the ideas, and the impact that LSU and the Curriculum Theory Project had on them. So if you're interested in more history, who isn't, right? No.